everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. That's the script I have down, Pat. That one I can do. The Sunday ones throw me for a loop. How are you?
I am so happy to be here, and I since we have a special guest, Tina, I brought one of my favorite beverages, Blind Pig IPA, delicious.
I feel like that could be misinterpreted if you don't do a little bit of a follow-up qualification with why you.
I didn't match the beer to the guest.
Okay, it's just one of your favorites, and that's why you got it.
No, I just like it's gonna be a fun show. Tina's here. Let's buy a quality beer, not the normal Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Well, good for you. You deserve it for sure.
Elevating the show.
Yeah. How are you? Yesterday was a rough day, I hear.
Yes. So I do electrical work, but normally that doesn't involve that much like digging and physical labor.
Right.
But we got this job to fix all these. The big fire at this apartment complex. We had to fix all their outdoor lights. Oh, wow. So we had to rent a trencher. And if you know what a trencher is, it's like basically a giant saw, like a tree saw. What do you? Okay. Just my brain is already. What do you call a saw that cuts trees? That thing.
Tree saw. No, I'm kidding. Okay, yeah.
Oh my God! Somebody in the chat, give me a word. But anyway, this thing
chainsaw.
We got their chainsaw. Thank God, but it's giant. The chainsaw part's ginormous, and you pull it back like an inch. It's like you dig a trench an inch every 5 minutes. Like it takes that long.
Wow.
And so we got this thing at 7 a.m. out in the sun. It was 100+ degrees all day. We only ended up getting a third of the job done, but halfway through the job, this guy comes out from the apartment complex. Hey, my cable's out. Did you guys cut the line? We're like, no way we cut the line. And then I'm like, because we didn't see any lines cut, no way.
Oh.
And then the Xfinity truck pulls up and they're like, hey, did you guys cut the line? We're like, no, fuck no. We're pros, And then it turns out we cut the internet and cable for the entire apartment complex. And but honestly, it's not our fault because you call ABC, which comes out and they're supposed to mark where gas and water, and they dropped the ball. So it wasn't really our fault.
It never is your fault, Pat, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that was fun.
That sounds like a rough, long, hot day.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be in my air-conditioned failing apartment, but at least I have my cold beer and friends here.
You have your cold beer. Cheers. Okay. Because we have so much to get to. Thank you, Reflect the Sun. That is incredibly generous. And Saul, you gotta make good on that promise. We have Kimmy coming in with another $4.99. I don't know what you're drinking, Saul, but let's get it going on. You keep us posted how the night goes for you. We'll get funnier and smarter as the night goes on.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly, before we bring Tina on, we just want to, as always, thank our members, our heroes and sheroes. You guys are amazing. Thank you. We are so excited that we get to do 2 shows a week now, and that's because of you guys. So thank you for all of your support. It means a ton for us. Okay. What do you think? Are we just going to bring on our good friend Tina? I feel so lucky today. I have 2 of my besties.
I'm looking at all of your members. You have a lot of members. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. We're growing, we're getting there. Oh, we can't hear Pat. Seize the opportunity. It's the best time
we can
ever.
I was making a joke about the size of our members.
Oh, there you go.
Probably best that we're muted.
Okay, that guy.
Probably best.
I might have opened the door to that, to be fair. Also, I love the beer name.
Always.
I'm having, because it's hot. We're in a heat wave, excessive heat warning here in Los Angeles. I got one of these.
Oh, what is that?
Okay.
From a local. Golden Road is a local brewer here in Los Angeles.
Golden Road,
and they make this really delicious. Okay, this one's a hard seltzer, but they also make like an IPA that's with fruit in it, like mango cart, pineapple cart,
Okay, not to be a buzzkill, but I'm a socialist, so that's what I have to do. They are a local brewer, but they got bought out by the big boys, and they got bought out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
To be sort of like it looks like it's a small operation because we have a bar down the street from them, but I think Anheuser-Busch or one of the big guys owns them now.
What?
Yeah, but
Um,
whatever. It's a good beer. It's
That's
probably
such a bummer.
that is summer. And
That's
now
such a
I'm pulling
bummer.
up a joke from fourth grade. Can beer make you smart? Budweiser, right?
Budweiser. I got
Okay.
you.
Uh-huh.
I got you.
All right. What do you think? What do you think, Pat? Do you want to risk the wheel right now?
How serious do you want to get right off the bat?
I know.
That's the
Should
question.
we do a quick wheel spin? That's what we've been doing is
I've had 2 sips of beer and I'm already ripping my headphones out.
That's perfect.
You've got a hole in your lip and you're like going your drinking problem. What should we do a little
Yeah,
spin of the
I
wheel?
think you should load the wheel up and we can spin it.
All right. It might cause me to freeze because we got a lot going on here, but we are committed to doing the show the proper way, adding this to the stage, spinning the wheel. Let's see what we land on.
Yeah, baby.
Well, okay. Am I removing that, Pat?
I got it. Yeah, no, you could leave it on there. We got
Okay.
lots of clips of everything.
Okay. Good.
Let's just start with some weird cats.
All right. All right. So now
Okay, that one cat with the really skinny, tall ears, is that like what kind of cat is that? I've never seen anything like that.
I have no idea, but
Anyone,
some of those
anyone?
were freaks.
I have no idea. I'm looking in the. Does anybody have? No, nobody is telling us yet, but maybe somebody in the
Okay.
chat can let us know. Okay, so to set this up, last Sunday, a week ago Sunday, there were protests happening in West Los Angeles. Tina came home and started texting me video of herself once again. And I said you were as big as a minute when we talked about it on the show, it's like channeling my grandmother. But you're so
Yeah.
teeny, and of course gets like abused by the protesters and the cops and all the people again. But we did talk about the protest because of the land sale at the temple. You have been following this since then, all through to our LA City Council meeting last night. So why don't you take it from here, and then we'll show some videos and tell us how it all started.
So I think we have to back up a second and get into why this protest was organized. The initial reporting that was done by a couple of outlets, really, the LA Times, I know, did not an inaccurate report, but not disclosing all the details. I'm not sure if they knew what was going on. Washington Post, a couple others. But initially, this protest was set up because there is a group that is selling land in settlements in the West Bank, a couple of them.
Right.
So now Israel is going to say that these settlements are perfectly legal. Under international law, they are not legal. So, the question becomes like, this is the United States. Yes, thank you for putting up the flyer. This is one of the flyers. I want to point out that this flyer was in the Jewish Journal, which is a local, obviously, small paper. And the person that originally leaked this ad out into the protest world is a Jewish person. Obviously, I'm not going to disclose who they are. They're, don't want to have any kind of retaliation. But, two things here. You could have a mind of that, A, I don't want this sort of thing happening in my place of worship, in my synagogue. This is sort of defiling it. Or B, a lot of the, protesters there were Jewish folks that were, against not only the land sale protests, but they want to end the occupation. You know, and there's a range of viewpoints you can have within that world. But what happened was none of that was mentioned in these initial reports, and the story became a group of pro-Palestinian supporters basically shut down a place of worship, and that's just a false statement. It just is. It's much more complicated than that.
Turned violent the way they did in the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, LA Times. It's the same way they covered the UCLA protests, where when it is so clearly done by the Zionists, they make the language very vague. It's just this nebulous turn violent. And also just, on that land grab or land sale, we talked about this last week. The best
you can call it a land grab. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's fair.
Anglo neighborhoods in Israel.
Right. Can we talk about that for a minute? So, and I've had this conversation with multiple individuals. A lot of folks in the Zionist camp are going to say that the word Anglo there isn't racist because in Hebrew, that's a translation of, what is the word they use? Help me out here. They don't mean it as in white neighborhoods, right? They mean it as English speaking neighborhoods, I guess is the most clear
So you have to speak
sort of
English.
translation.
But even that,
what
is
I'm going to say though,
racism.
Yeah,
it's coded. I agree, it's coded. I think that what they mean by that is pretty clear. So I do think it's racist. But I'm just saying that there is a viewpoint that is the case. I'm just including that in the conversation.
Can non-Jews buy that land?
No.
Okay, so no, even if it so no matter what, it's not allowed in the U.S. Right, even if it weren't stolen land.
Right.
Do
you think these protests, these land sales were strategically put at the mosque, or this just happened to be a situation?
Jews call it
they've been doing this for years. This is nothing new. It's just getting attention right now because of the ongoing onslaught in Gaza. Now, in the past when this has happened, nobody's batted an eye.
Right.
But now it's becoming part of the conversation at long last. And I think you have to have a broader conversation at the settlement expansion that has been occurring in the West Bank, right? So for a very long time, the U.S. policy in this area has been that, settlement expansion is bad. We should not condone it. We should not support it. Obama had a weak kind of response to some of the stuff that was happening during his presidency where he was speaking out against it, but they only say words and they never do anything to stop it, right? If they really wanted to have that policy with some teeth, they would say, okay, we're going to, sort of attach some of the funding we're giving you to ending the settlement expansion, because there will be no peace in this area as long as that's continuing, right? So now you've gotten to the point where there's so many illegal settlements. And when I say illegal settlements, these are ones that even the Israeli government says is illegal. We're talking about, some of these outposts outside of Hebron and some of the other areas. The U.S. has now imposed sanctions on several of them. That's the first time I've seen the U.S. government do anything to that extent. Is it enough? Is it no? Is it too late? Probably. So, this ongoing problem that we've been seeing, that's been building, not getting enough attention is now just shit's hitting the fan, right? So all of this is coming out into the open and people are very angry about it. The thing that bothered me the most about the initial reporting, though, is that, and this includes Mayor Karen Bass, several of the city council members, obviously Newsom, Governor Newsom, Joe Biden, they all condemned this protest as being anti-Semitic without ever taking a pause or a breath to talk to who was there on the ground. And if they had done that, they would have realized that a big chunk of those protesters were in fact Jewish as well.
Right. They never want to talk about that. Yeah.
But that's a conscious choice. I mean, they know what's going on, and they know if
perhaps
they admit to being exposed to the truth in this situation, they might have to change course.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's Hamas, and everybody is, we just saw the ADL say that anti-Semitism had increased by 300%, and what they were using to pad those numbers in this industry of, the anti-Semitism industry, which is absolutely become an industry, right? Is people just saying Palestine should be free, wearing keffiyehs, saying from the river to the sea. Each time one of those, it could just be like one line was marked as anti-Semitism.
All right, so that just makes the whole thing makes me cringe and upset just on a personal level. This is me not speaking as a journalist. This is me speaking as a person in the world. Anti-Semitism is absolutely on the fucking rise. All right. I myself have been a victim of a hate crime. I know what that feels like. it does no service to anybody to keep including criticism Israel in that column. Criticism of Israel is not anti-Semitism. It is criticism of Israel. Now, sometimes some of the criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Yes,
Sure,
of course.
yeah.
But a lot of what they're including in that, that's just not the case. And as far as I'm concerning, it's making people kind of roll their eyes at like acts of real anti-Semitism that we
100%.
should be concerned about.
Absolutely.
And it's dangerous on a certain level.
No,
You know,
it
one
is.
of the guys, not to go into a sidebar, but I think this bears mentioning, Adam King, I think I sent you a screenshot
Yeah.
of
So-
that particular
yeah.
guy. So,
Well, okay. So I want to, we have it sort of in, so he
you have it in order?
actually-
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Let's
All right,
go
let
back.
me talk about this guy. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and
Wait.
show that. But as you're looking at that, let me give you an idea of who this
okay.
guy is. So, Karen,
Okay.
oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I want to go back. I wanted to start with some of the footage that you took to show where the violence actually was coming from.
Oh,
because
okay.
I know that he was on the stage with her, which was repulsive. So we're going to get to that, but let's do it a little bit in chronological order, just so
Okay.
we can. Okay, so this is some of the. We have a few different clips. This one's a little longer, so if there's any point here where you want us to stop it, let us know. But this is
Well, all right, yeah, off the bat, since you've got this
Yeah.
screenshot here showing. So the kid on the right with the long blonde hair got into this insane brawl with people on both sides were just beating each other up. It was just
Right.
this insane brawl that broke out. But at one point, this particular kid had somebody in a chokehold on the pavement, like
Yes.
literally choking him out on the pavement. And when that was going on for some time, he got jumped. And he stood up and he was bloody, a mess, and his first response. My thought when I watched this was like, we need to call 911. This guy's really
Right.
hurt. But then he made this comment like, "Yeah, baby, let's go," or something. And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I'm not calling 911."
It
This
was
is
crazy.
nuts. But then
and also the picture of him on the
he
ground
was hyped up the entire time.
with the chokehold was screenshot from Zionists saying, "Look what they're doing to Jewish women." They thought that he was a Jewish woman on the ground being beaten,
Right.
and then you
That
and
is
other
insane.
people
I
pointed
saw that.
out.
I was
Yeah,
like, what?
This
that he-
reminds me of when you got in the fight with the Nazis and they made a sticker out of you, Tina.
Yeah.
Can you explain
yes.
that? Describe
you're
that
right.
for people that don't know about it, because I'll get it wrong.
I was hit by this guy in front of City Hall, and he basically took the LA Times captured the moment, and they had it running on top of this article. So this guy basically took the LA Times photograph, and he made me a man instead of a woman. He removed my press credentials and put a Antifa sticker on my
God.
helmet.
Meanwhile,
then,
they're punching poor little Tina, who's a badass, granted, but like you're turning her into a man so you can look tougher for your audience and
Right.
selling it.
Right.
And selling it.
Right.
I hope you
And
got a
selling it,
percentage
yeah.
of that.
No,
yeah.
but I couldn't believe that guy did that. I was like, is he serious?
Unbelievable. The chutzpah. All right, here we go. So who's pushing here and what's happening? Can you tell us what's going on?
Okay, so at this point in time, and if anybody wants to see like an hour-long footage of the day, you can go to the District 34 and get really in the weeds if you want to see how this all progressed. But so at this particular moment, the LAPD, after some stuff had been going on, they decided they just needed to clear the protest away from the front of the temple. So at this point, they were pushing, and I'll say this: they got rid of all the protesters for the most part, not just the pro-Palestinian ones.
Okay.
But what ended up happening because of that, and you'll see this later on the footage, because they pushed all of these folks away from that spot out further down the street, things just went more violent because there was nobody interfering with them at
Right.
that point. The police weren't paying attention, so just stuff went south really fast.
And can I ask you, were they actually blocking the entrance?
I never saw them block the entrance.
Okay.
Exactly. No, they
I'm
were
just wondering, 'cause that was,
I mean, I've been wondering that too, because that's what I've said people reporting. And I'm like, man, I never saw them actually blocking the entrance.
Right.
But maybe that happened earlier in the day when I wasn't there. But no, from the time I was there, they were to the side of the entrance. You could still get into the synagogue.
Okay.
Also,
All right.
why were they saying, like, does people not know that Sabbat is not on Sunday if you're Jewish? Like, that was the other thing that I was like, why do they keep saying
that was Shabbat?
Was
and
that
also,
just me?
do we have auctions at houses of worship of stolen land?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
I mean, I
there's
did
so
talk
many
to a couple
parts
of Jewish folks that were, they were angry about that, right? They felt like the temple was being defiled. I mean, and I think that is 100% a valid position that you could have.
Yeah. All right.
Listen, my point of this is this was a much more complicated situation than what the initial reporting was making it out to be.
Right.
And there were many, many layers to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Don't charge! Don't charge!
Sorry, I have another question. How long was the protest happening? Yeah, I'm going to wait till you have your mouth full. Was the protest happening before the cops showed up? And did that force a shift in the dynamic of the protest? What happened?
No. So when I first got there, I was actually pepper sprayed. I don't know. Let me clarify. Not me personally pepper sprayed like this, but I was in a group of folks that got pepper sprayed. So there'd been some like kind of, jaw jacking going on and altercations back and forth at that point, but nothing as severe as about what we're about to see where it escalated to. Right. But the LAPD came in maybe, I want to say 10 minutes after I got there. So they were there pretty promptly.
Okay. They always make it better.
Actually, honestly, in this particular situation at this time, they did not make it worse. Let me put it that way.
All right. That's something.
I mean,
it's a low bar.
The protesters.
Did you just endorse the LA Police Department?
Yeah. We're going to clip that. We're going to
cut her feed. Cut
Tina
her feed.
loves cops. Yeah.
My point being that I'm not talking about them, clearing and ribbing people. I'm not talking about this particular thing here. But I think because there had just been some pepper spraying and some other stuff happening when they first showed up, everybody kind of calmed down a bit. Let me clarify what I'm saying here.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, I'm just going to go back to my beverage. Before...
No.
That's what I do. Ella's got this.
You will never, ever break us. We have God on our side. We are good. You are evil.
I know. Here.
Yeah.
You might want to start this over again. I should do this.
Okay.
But notice this woman say, we are good, you are evil.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, are you kidding me right now?
Gross.
And then, not in this clip, but you can see in the longer clip that I have of the day, one guy literally says right before this fight, the Gaza sale of land is going to go on, like saying stuff like this. So they were completely acknowledging what was going on in there.
Right.
I literally was like, wow. Oh my God.
Stop!
So you can see he's down there in a chokehold.
Yeah.
Police! Go run, get the...
So do you know if anyone's been prosecuted from any of the footage? Like, do they arrest anybody?
Not yet. I will say this, that I have been contacted by multiple law enforcement agencies. So it remains to be seen I think that I know major crimes and the LAPD is looking into it, and I think that that's a political directive from the mayor's office.
Right.
But I also think they're not discovering what they thought they were going to discover, right, based on their initial assessment. I think now that they're looking at the footage, they're like, okay, so perhaps this wasn't a one-sided anti-Semitic driven brawl.
Shocker.
He's in jail! Oh, you okay? And he's
The ass, dog. Maybe you want to, dog. Get the fuck up, faggot. All you faggots. What's up?
I don't know, did you see that somebody was bear mace there?
No.
I don't know if you noticed that. So, yeah, somebody was bear mace there. That's why everybody was walking away. It happened quickly, but yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
A bear mace is going to happen here, too. Look on the right-hand side. There, you see that guy just bear mace. Yeah. That guy was messing with people all day long. He was wearing weighted gloves. You'll see he has weighted gloves on.
With the flag?
No, the guy with the black baseball cap that bear maced or pepper spray, whatever that was. Ay, ay.
Okay, so let me just take that off. Remove. That arrest, was that the first arrest?
No, that was the third arrest. So here's another thing that happened earlier on the day, and this happened at a part of the protest that I was not at, so I didn't film this. I saw the video later and talked to some folks that had been there during that time, but they... some guy was pulling into a gas station to get gas, is my understanding of the situation, and he rolled down the window and screamed at these guys, and they basically told the police that this guy had a weapon in the car. He did, as far as I can tell, he did not, but the LAPD surrounded his car and pulled out their service weapons, so they had all their guns drawn on this family. There was a kid in the back seat. Oh, God. So some of you might have seen this video where the LAPD are literally removing this kid from the car and carrying him away. I mean, this is crazy, right?
And it was just a person getting gas.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what struck me, I mean, there's a lot of examples of this, but there are so many Israeli supporters openly being anti-Semitic. I mean, not anti-Semitic, but racist, homophobic, xenophobic. And if there were 5 Palestinian examples of that at these protests, it would be a national news story, because they're shaping the narrative that
they're beasts, they're barbaric.
Palestinians are the ones that are the aggressors, are terrible. But we have millions of examples of some of these hardcore Zionists being just religious zealots and homophobic. And
right. My thing is this: if you remove from do this as a thought experiment. Remove the fact that what this protest is about, and that there's any Jewish aspect to it at all, and look at it from the lens of right versus left, and it becomes really clearly focused. This is 100%. Just really a traditional of the right versus the left. These pro-Israel Zionists are very, very far right. A lot of them are anti-trans. I went and looked at some of the social media profiles of these individuals. What happened?
Did we lose you?
Is it working okay? Oh, that's okay. Oh, StreamYard just did some bloopy thing.
Oh, it's like God.
So
StreamYard. We always curse.
Yeah, God, are you talking to me? Were you? Yeah. But I mean, if you look at their, in fact, the guy, Adam King, which we're going to talk to in a minute, he had a post on his social media where he was defending, he works with Alex Jones, InfoWars, and he was defending this show that they had Nick Fuentes on. And I was like, are you kidding me now? Nick Fuentes is quite literally an anti-Semitic neo-Nazi. And really, that's what you're doing here? Yes. I mean, so to me, this is just the psychology. The psychology here is really deep. So much of this, two things. So much of this is reactionary against genuine anti-Semitism in the world. And, there's also that thing where you carry, the baggage of the past with you, right? And
trauma,
so there's yeah. So, I mean, all of these things are real and definitely part of the
Right.
conversation as far as I'm concerned. So, I mean, I just don't know what you do with the psychology at this point, because now you've seen a group that is 100% becoming the same type of aggressor that they've been the victim of in the past. And I don't know how you unring this bell. It's really deep psychology.
I mean, it's the only thing that those right-wing, white supremacists hate more than Jews are anti-Zionists. So they're like coming together over their hatred. And I'm sure most of it is because they're thinking of them as just like brown Palestinians. But also, I think that
Well,
they
I mean,
really
but they also
admire
hate
the way
lefty Jews. I mean,
Who, the
really,
right wing?
Lila, the thing. Oh my God, yeah. Some of these,
No, I
some
know,
of the
that's what I'm
most
saying.
angriest things.
they hate
Okay.
Jews. They actually hate, those white supremacists, Nick Fuentes, they hate Jews. But the only people they hate more than Jews are anti-Zionists, which is so crazy because there are a lot of Jewish anti-Zionists, right? So you see the grandchildren of Nazis in Germany who are now police.
Do you know why?
Arresting Jews.
I have a thought on this.
Yeah.
Because it solves their JQ, right? So these people like Richard Spencer, right? He's come out and said this. They don't particularly, obviously they hate Jewish people. They're anti-Semitic fucks, okay? So yes, I use the F word. Okay, so they don't care about that. What they do care about is if we can deport all of our Jewish folks and put them in Israel, that solves our JQ problem. They're no longer our problem. So the reason that they support Israel is deeply, deeply anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
And it really, it should give more Zionist pause. But for some reason, this group has they don't have pause. They just are like, it's fine.
Because
they support
feed
Israel.
off of it. I mean, they need that, right? They need the anti-Semitism to justify the creation of a Jewish homeland. I mean, that really is, and it's been going on for a century, like since the late 1800s. And Theodor Herzl wrote about that Jewish problem and that Jews would never be safe.
How do you use it for their?
Yeah. Okay, should we watch? I want to make sure that we get to see more of your video. So this is the next three are much shorter, but just here are some more Zionist. Wow. As he's saying, break it up, and he's like spraying in her face.
Yeah, so this is a compilation we created of all the times that Zionists had pepper sprayed the protesters, and the reason I did this is really for one reason only. I saw a narrative out there, including in the Jerusalem Post, where they said, that one guy actually said it, quoted in the Jerusalem Post, that only anti-Semites bring pepper spray to a protest. And I was like, are you sure about that?
Right.
And at one point, I even heard them talking behind me, these two kids. They're like, hey, are we out of pepper spray, or do we have more pepper spray? And I was like, really? You guys haven't pepper sprayed enough today? Like, what, did you come with a case of this stuff?
Oh, my God. Horrible. And
pepper spray could be, it's being normalized at this point, I think, and it is dangerous. I responded to somebody in the comments, sorry.
Yeah, it is dangerous. JQ, the Jewish question, sorry, I'm trying, you're like trying. What's the Jewish question or what's JQ, somebody was asking.
It is the most deeply anti-Semitic, horrific thing on the planet. I would want to say that it started earlier than neo-Nazi World War II Germany, but the Jewish question is, what do we do with our Jews? We want them out of the country.
Absolutely. It started way earlier than that, right? I mean, Jews have been victims of pogroms and anti-Semitism for millennia. Right. So that started in the late 1800s with the whole idea of setting up a Zionist nation. And the more anti-Semitism there is, the more it makes necessary a Jewish state, right?
It's a feedback loop, isn't it?
It is. Like, Zionists believe that Jews can't actually be safe anywhere, that they can never fully assimilate. They're
Yeah.
always
If
going
you
to-
can't be safe at a temple
deep
selling
fear.
Palestinian property,
It's deep fear.
yeah. Where can you be safe? Okay, so there's another one. This was lovely. And again, these are much shorter, but I just want to make sure we get some of your footage out there.
Get out of the Jewish neighborhood, you anti-Semite. This is the Jewish Oh no, they have cameras. Get the fuck out of private property. You're private property, bitch. You're private property, bitch. This private property, we have you on camera. Private property, bitch. Get the fuck out. You're in the Jewish neighborhood. This is the Jewish neighborhood, you anti-Semite. Get the fuck out.
She has a phone. Be careful. It's dangerous to have a phone.
Is that where you just got hit?
So no, in that I was pushed off the top of, see, there was stairs at an embankment kind of, and I was standing on top of the stairs. I was actually just trying to get a wide angle shot of the protesters coming down the street. And the guy came up behind me and just pushed me off the steps down the embankment. And then Nick Stern, who is another also Jewish photojournalist, was standing there filming, and the guy in the pink shirt literally broke his camera, $600 camera.
All right, this is the last bit of protest footage, and then we'll go to some of the other stuff. Not bringing their best. Not bringing their best. Lord.
Yeah, I was like, when I heard that, I was like, did I just hear the N-word? And when I went back through my footage, I was like, wow, yeah, I did. Holy moly.
You know, it's crazy because you sent that to me, and I just seen the footage from Film the Police, who's I don't know if you know him personally, but he's
he was standing behind me, I think.
He was. So then when I saw that, and then when you sent it to me, I went back to his, and I saw you actually, I see you in, I know what you were wearing that day. But that was crazy. I mean,
that was crazy.
Like, who are they trying to appeal to with that?
I don't, the only thing, honestly, Lila, all of this is very painful. The only thing I can come up with is that these kids are just very radicalized. I don't know if that's, obviously they're homeschooled, whatever. Somewhere they're being very radicalized. The fact that he felt like he could say that out loud and it was fine and not very racist and awful. This whole thing is just so depressing.
It's really depressing.
Yeah, but I think you touched on it, because if you were a pro-Palestine supporter at a rally saying something offensive, you would get checked severely.
100%.
No, well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem, isn't it? Because this is a group that has been so hated against for so long, that now there's this sort of overreaction of Teflon coating. And I think that has sort of enabled the worst tendencies of some of these individuals. But I will say this, there were other Jewish folks that had come out of their houses that were like, we are not okay with these folks. Like, this is bad. So I just don't want anybody to watch this stuff and believe that is who the Jewish community is, because it's not.
I really think nationally there's so much support for Palestine, but it's not against Jewish people. It's against what the government is doing over there.
An ongoing genocide. It's a clear genocide. We should talk about that for a minute. I don't think a lot of Americans, they don't follow foreign politics. They barely follow Americans. So how do they know this? But the entire right-wing government, Netanyahu's government, has been captured by right-wing extremists. Ben-Gvir is a guy that's been associated with domestic terrorism in the West Bank. Yeah. And when I say domestic terrorism, I do mean domestic terrorism. I'm not just calling somebody something for no reason whatsoever.
Bombing places, yeah.
100%. So he's part of, he's defended the Hilltop Youth, which is like, so these are individuals, these kids are very radicalized. It's very scary. They grew up in these illegal settlements. They're now coming of age now, and they are incredibly radicalized. They're messianic. And they're out there doing violence, like I think the prime example of that is, so, they want to take all the land. Let me start with that. So the outposts, the point of these outposts is to further expand the settlements, right? So they go up on top of these hillsides, at the top of the hills above where there's Palestinian land, and they set up these little makeshift outposts, and they live in them and they occupy them, and they start to harass the Palestinians there, and the point is to drive them away. 4 of the individuals that the Biden administration has put sanctions on are guilty of doing this and some other things. I think it sort of reached a crescendo when this kid, this household in Duma, I believe it was, if I remember correctly, was one of these hilltop youth threw a Molotov cocktail into their house, and they killed the baby. Little Ollie was killed in the fire. Parents were killed. And when the Israeli government obviously arrested these guys, they're getting ready for their court date, and some of the other Hilltop youth members are standing outside of the courtroom, and they're chanting "Little Ollie's on the barbecue."
I saw that video.
I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Well, it's a
like,
result
it's shocking.
of a plan to dehumanize Palestinians by the Israeli government and the Zionist movement, and the right, the far right, obviously has taken over. That's where, when people say the Biden administration wants to pretend we get rid of Netanyahu, we get rid of the problem. But you get rid of Netanyahu, you're going to have even a further right person, because
I
the
agree with
politics
that,
of the country
actually.
are so hard right that that's not a solution.
But I think just
I mean,
like
get
I
rid
agree
of
too.
him, but
it's a lot of what
Like, I think of all the Israeli friends that I have, and all of my Israeli friends that have moved to America are escaping that, right? They're lefties. They don't want to live in that environment. So now you're self-selecting for a group of citizenship that's, even more right. So I do
think it's the natural culmination of the Zionist project, though. I think it's a lot like liberalism leading to fascism, right? Like, it's not, Trump isn't just a singular anomaly. He is the natural byproduct of this sort of neoliberal capitalist system we have in this country. That's where it's headed when you have the free market and all that matters is your bottom line. You end up heading towards fascism. And I think a lot of liberal Zionists wanted to believe that
Right. Yes, of course they did. I mean, and that is an understandable thing, right, to want to believe, isn't it? I mean, because on a certain level, if you believe that is how you stay safe, it makes sense that you want to try to preserve that.
Right.
But also at the same time, you don't want to do that on the backs of innocent individuals that did nothing to deserve what's coming at them. Right. So that to me is understandable, at least. Anyway,
but I think it's a mistake to put it all, as we've been saying, on Netanyahu, right? Okay.
I agree.
So
I agree.
So let's move on to Karen Bass's response.
A press conference, yeah.
Yeah.
So Karen has a press conference the next day in which she basically just repeated the same thing, that it was just this anti-Semitic pogrom, right?
Right.
But I want to point out, there was this guy, there's a copy of it. So you see the guy in the left with the white shirt with the InfoWars hat. His name is Adam King. He's a podcaster for InfoWars. He's a very, very far right kind of guy. He's incredibly racist. Like I mentioned earlier, he had been defending some Nick Fuentes stuff, which is like, I'm sorry. Are you serious, dude? Like, Nick Fuentes is a rabid anti-Semite neo-Nazi. It's disgusting. Like, I have no words for this. But this is the kind of things that he's putting out in the world, right? So, that is incredibly racist.
Of course it is.
I mean, that is so damn racist. I can't even believe that this guy tweeted it and thought it was perfectly, like, no problem here. I mean, I can't.
And why
but,
he
know
was,
what I'm saying.
like,
it's still shocking.
Her. Like, why did she or her staff choose to have him on the stage?
Okay, so the mayor's office basically said they didn't know. They didn't invite him. He was part of the group from the Simon
Wiesenthal.
Thank you.
So why does Simon Wiesenthal interact with Adam King? Like, what is happening?
All right, let me explain this to you. Wait, you're going to love this. Let me send you down another rabbit hole. Okay, so I had mentioned earlier some illegal settlements, and that was part of the problem. In Gaza, so let's go back in time a little bit. In Gaza, there were some other illegal settlements that the Israeli government took apart. They forced the settlers out of Gaza. It was a 2005? I could be wrong there. I'm trying to remember when.
2005.
Okay. All right, so this individual, Adam King, actually lived in one of those illegal settlements in Gaza at one time before he came to the United States, just to give you his background.
Right. Oh, my God. And, I mean, Simon Wiesenthal...
So, again, it's all part of that same,
but, like, that Holocaust museum, in most people's minds, you know, because you go into it and it's like the Museum of Tolerance, right? And you go in and it's not just about the Holocaust. I mean, that is the primary exhibition, but there's a lot about the way Black Americans were treated in this country, other examples of discrimination and bigotry. Yeah. So, but for them to
as it should be,
yes, 100%.
For them to align with these individuals is kind of disturbing. I agree. It speaks to this idea, like all of these other things were Holocaust and genocides, but Palestine is not. Like, it's a disconnect. It is clearly a disconnect. I just, you and I see that clearly, but a lot of individuals. I mean, listen, I grew up believing in Zionism. I did.
Me too.
It wasn't until you start to see the truth of the matter, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, how does that make sense?
But I really don't believe these politicians don't understand the right side of this. Like, I don't think they're confused on it. I think they really are just politically so owned by the money in the ecosystem of supporting Democrats.
I think some of them believe that Palestinians are terrorists.
I do. I'm going to side with Lila on that. Especially the older generation. I think they do believe that.
Best night ever. Not only that, but I don't even know why, but Audrey just wrote, Lila just hit the nail on the head, and I want that please embroidered.
Everybody's wrong but me. How do I push these buttons? Let's just make this my show.
Yeah.
No, look,
I
obviously there are politicians that truly believe it. It's easy for politicians because you have to defend your own psychology of like, I support them because, and all this is going on, but there's so much evidence in front of them, and their polling is so bad for them. Like, normally polling drives.
Yeah, and now, in my opinion, Pat, there's no excuse not to know now. Now that we have the internet, we have social media, we have the footage that we're seeing. I could understand 15 years ago, 20 years ago, not knowing, right? Not seeing, not knowing about it.
100%.
Having those, but at this particular junction in time, you have to be blind.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
Truly blind.
So let's get to the next part.
And I also want to point out, before we go to the next thing, just really quickly, just again as a historical thing, Yitzhak Rabin was killed, let's make this clear, was killed by a right-wing extremist Israeli, right?
Yeah.
And the reason he was killed was because at that time he had signed the Oslo Accords that would have meant establishing, legitimately a path to a two-state solution and, ending the settlement expansion. So the individual that shot him was a right-wing extremist settler from that's the same pool that I'm talking about, the Ben-Gvir's from, right? So just to give everybody an idea, there is a particular situation here that is highly problematic, and it hasn't been dealt with at all. It has been enabled, in fact, when you have the IDF protecting these illegal settlers. Yeah. Letting them rampage around and do the things that they do, and to be fair, there has been, reactionary violence from the Palestinians there too, some of them, right? So, there's been deaths caused by them as well, not to the same extent, right?
Nowhere near. And they are occupied and dominated.
And I always, my thing is this is like, like if they weren't occupying this illegal land, this wouldn't be happening. So just end the settlements now, right? That should have been obvious decades ago.
And it won't happen, I think, until there is.
But because this messianic group wants all the land. They believe Judea, Samaria, this is our land. We're not the intruders here. They are. They took it from us 2,000 years. Like that's the mindset. Just so people understand.
And right now Israel's bombing 3 different places, right? Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. They are not stopping. It's funny.
Syria,
all the things that they say about Putin, who just. I'm not a fan of Putin's, but doesn't want NATO on his border.
Fuck Putin. Fuck that guy too.
But they keep saying, oh, he's going to take over all of Europe. That doesn't seem to be the plan. The plan though for Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir and Smotrich and Gallant, they absolutely want to keep expanding. It's really frightening.
That is the point. And I will tell you this, that is the entire point of not really caring about the hostages as much as this, right? How many hostages have been killed by the IDF? I mean, this bears a discussion. They have this Hannibal directive that basically gives the IDF carte blanche to shoot hostages. Yeah. And they have no problem doing that because that's in the service of the bigger issue that they want all the land. And I mean, I just really think that's fucking awful.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. I mean, well, even in the 40s when Ben-Gurion, I mean, we've talked about this on this show, said these 10,000 children that the Britain said that they would take in from Germany to save them. He said, no, if you're not sending them to Israel, it's better that they die in concentration camps. It will be better for the state of Israel.
Wait, did that actually happen? I didn't know.
I mean, we showed like the actual quote. I don't have it with me right now, but like, several months ago. Yeah. I mean, even
that's
just now,
crazy.
Like, yeah, they have killed more hostages than they've saved, right? Even that day, they saved 4, they killed 3. If you're not even not even counting Palestinians, which of course you should, but like on that day, they saved 4 and killed 3, one of whom was American.
I almost feel like all of this is just collateral damage. Like they don't care about, I mean, really, because if you're intentionally killing children, civilians, these things, these are war crimes. That's not up for debate, in my opinion. This is collective, or even collective punishment, if you want to frame it that way.
Yeah.
They clearly only, as far as I'm concerned, this is how I see it. They just want to take all the land. That's the end game.
That is.
And whatever happens to get there is like whatever, which is, but that's just so, it's so
evil,
deranged.
And it's going to backfire. Like they're a small country and they're 100% reliant on the US and the UK for weapons and for their economy. And if they become a pariah, it's over. Like if people, and it's starting, if people stop allowing their imports, if they, go ahead.
They will be a pariah state. And the problem is that we as Americans are enabling this. And that's like, if public policy here reflected public opinion, we wouldn't be in this war, and Israel wouldn't be able to do what they're doing right now. Like,
I mean, that's it.
No question.
We know that there have been phone calls that one phone call shuts it down several times over the past decade.
No, I mean, the United States could absolutely do more to like not enable this position. I mean, not just with the weapon sales, but with other things too, right? Yeah. So I think, and I got to say this again, I think the fact that the Biden administration has put out sanctions for the first time in the history of ever.
I mean, it was for 4 settlers.
For 4. Hey man, it's way more than they've ever done in the past. I mean, I agree that it's too little too late, but the fact that even happened is pretty damn shocking to me. I'm like, okay,
I think
maybe
I think they pulled that back and are reevaluating it now from what I read.
Oh,
but,
good
but
God.
Anyway, it's okay, so let's move on because I know we're getting late here. Okay, so we did the whole mask thing, which it just, this was just like beautiful irony that after she proposes Karen Bass a mask ban, she gets COVID. Hilarious, because why anyway? But that's
that is so ironic. That is ultimately very ironic, and wildly. Assailants of all types wear masks, right? That's just like whatever. Right. But they could make exceptions for K95 masks. My thing is this: is the ACLU eventually step in there and say like you're taking away First Amendment rights for anybody that has any sort of immunocompromised position and needs to wear a mask? That doesn't seem fair. Yeah, I just don't see how this even gets off the ground.
Yeah, but like why? So New York, Mayor Adams wants a mask ban. Democratic city, Democratic state.
It's the flavor du jour.
But like. They went from mandating masks to now banning them to appeal to their right-wing constituents and AIPAC. That's really what it all is.
Well, and wildly, do you know how many right-wing extremists wear masks? So that's the kind of the funny part to me is like,
Yeah, so like these, these unmasked hate people are saying, this isn't at Columbia, so this is in New York, right? They're saying coalition pushing to ban masks at protests. Then they but say these are KKK tactics. That's what the ADL's Jonathan Greenblatt says of protesters who wear masks. No difference between a protester with a keffiyeh wrapped around their head and a Klan member with a hood. And by the way,
I gotta stop. Hang on,
Lila.
Because they're again failing to acknowledge or recognize that right-wing extremists also mask up. The videos I just showed you.
Yeah.
How many Zionists had masks, not K95s, but like full face masks on?
Yeah. Seriously, like white hood. And the Proud Boys always wear those handkerchief thingies every day.
So for them to like frame this as like hate, to be fair, like hateful people or Proud Boys do wear masks. But my point is that they're trying to make it out to be like these are only the Palestinian protesters that are doing that, and it's just nonsense. It's just not true.
Okay,
Yeah, of
so
course.
now we're going to move on quickly. Sorry, I'm realizing we're almost an hour into the
Sorry,
other
I know.
No, it's great, but I just, to the other part of Mayor Bass's proposal, which was to hire a private force of ex-IDF U.S. citizens for
Right.
security. So these are
So they were part of this. Let's go.
Magna
I
M,
sent you an
yeah.
article on this? Yeah. So
Yes.
the way this was divided out was the initial was just to be clear, it was also amended. So what actually went to the city council wasn't this, but the initial proposal was that this group gets, I think, 350, 400K, and two other different groups get sums of money. They went after the LA Times for calling this group Israeli vigilantism. I'm sorry. I think that was kind of an accurate description. I don't think that's anti-Semitic, because this group basically functions in the same way that Guardian Angels does, right?
Yeah.
And when you see these guys, they have guns on, they have
they're mercenaries.
tasers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They look like mercenaries. Yeah, my thing is like, I don't see how this makes the streets safer, to be fair.
No.
Like, if you want to up LAPD patrols in the area, do that. I mean, at least the LAPD has some
that
level.
Makes anything
You
safer, but I
laugh.
hear what you're saying. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
But it's better than having militia that aren't accountable to anybody for anything. I mean, what happens when something goes really south with one of these guys and then they sue the city of LA because it's taxpayer money that was financing it? Like, none of this made sense to me. So other city council members were like, we're not doing that. That's ridiculous. So they changed the proposal to be any faith group could apply for a grant, and they upped it from $1 million to $2 million of grant money that would be available. But even that kind of petered out. It got pushed through city council to be reevaluated at the end of the month when they get back from break. But, it wasn't total buy-in from the city council. But I want to point out that the video I sent you, Jewish Voice for Peace had a very large contingent that was sitting there in the chambers, and they were holding up signs that, this doesn't make us safer, all this kind of stuff. And, here's the thing that kind of blows my mind is, does Yaroslavsky, do any of these guys actually want to, listen to what these particular constituents have to say? Or are they only going to listen to these right-wing constituents? Like, the Jewish community isn't monolithic.
Right.
They're not monolithic, and assuming that they are in a way is, really kind of fucked up and anti-Semitic, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion there.
Right, but I'm sure
these guys are Democrats. Are they not going to listen to their lefty base at all and what they have to say about this?
No, they're going to throw them under the bus.
Would you like the answer?
Yeah, you're not real. You're not a real Jew. They're going to tell you you're not a real Jew. They're not real Jews, and they arrest them. Yeah.
I had a guy tell me I should go get raped in Gaza.
Oh my! I cannot tell you how many people have told me I can't wait till Hamas rapes you. Cannot wait.
What the fuck?
It's so disgusting. So this is from this was last night, the LA City Council meeting?
Yesterday, yeah. Yesterday.
Okay. Yesterday.
Not at night, but during the day, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Of the initial motion. To address this, the substitute motion directs all funding to the Civil and Human Rights Department for neighborhood security grants and increases the amount of funding from $1 million to $2 million. It opens up the emergency grants program to all faith-based orgs. I believe
of council members as they're speaking. Councilmember Yaroslavsky has the floor and she's not finished.
I believe that this is an appropriate and necessary change to ensure that all faith communities across Los Angeles are able to access these funds while also addressing the urgent need to increase security at Jewish institutions. I do want to just close by talking about why I believe this funding, regardless of the mechanism used to appropriate.
Anyway, you get the picture there.
Yeah, it was really gross. And yeah, all of this, the masked man comparing keffiyehs to KKK hoods is so racist and gross. The Democrats wanting to hire mercenary law. This is, which is why liberal Zionism, whatever, all of this leads to fascism. It just does. Like you cannot.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire Israeli government is fascist at this point. And
Yeah.
I guess what blows my mind is why are Democrats in this country supporting politicians in another country that they would never, ever get behind here in this country? They never would, right?
Yeah. No,
Well, because it's a runaway train at this point. I don't know.
it's a mess.
I don't like what
Well,
I'm seeing.
the good
on a personal
news
level,
is
but-
that the IDF is training all of our cop cities, so that's great. That's
yeah,
great to
there's
hear.
that too.
God, what a mess.
There's that too.
Tina, before you leave, we've kept you for such a long time. Tell us any last
all right.
things. What's your next thing that you're covering? Where are you
Probably just
following
going to
up
be
on?
staying on
Yeah.
this. I mean,
Yeah.
this stuff is, I don't see this stopping anytime soon.
No.
So I'm going to keep covering this stuff, whatever else happens, But yeah, so if you want to follow, all the protest stuff and see longer clips, just go to the District 34 YouTube. It's on there. Unfortunately, Right Wing Insanity Report, which I was doing with Status Coup, we ran out of funding for that, but hopefully that'll come back when
Yeah,
the
I
money.
hope so.
I know.
I love
Well,
that.
I just think it's
especially
really
because
important.
how you show how the unity between the right wing and how they are being allowed to thrive by the people who are supposed to be the bulwark against them.
Yeah, exactly. I did some writing. I'm working with Walker Bragman now, a little bit at Important Context. I did a piece actually about this very thing a couple weeks ago where I had, so there's an individual that had been protesting the night that at UCLA when it got very violent.
Right.
And his name is Tom Bibian. And I had realized after that night that this particular individual was also the victim of a hate crime. He was stabbed by a KKK member in 2016 in Anaheim.
Right.
Which is, obviously like shocking, right? So,
Right.
but wildly, the following after the UCLA thing, I covered a Sean Feucht rally. Sean Feucht is like this Christian nationalist guy. And at that Sean Feucht rally was a gentleman. Okay, this is like the weirdest story. Follow me down this. This gentleman I had filmed at the White Lives Matter rally in Huntington Beach, which was absolutely 100% a neo-Nazi rally. There is no other way to describe this. It was dudes with swastika tattoos and the whole nine, right? So I walked up to this guy at the Sean Feucht rally. He was wearing an IDF shirt and he was holding an Israeli flag. And I said to him, I'm pretty sure I filmed you at the White Lives Matter rally in Huntington Beach. And he said, yes, I was there. And I'm like, okay, you're admitting to being at a neo-Nazi rally. Would you like to explain to me what you're doing at this one? And he said, all lives matter. And I'm like, okay. like, is this actually happening? So I pushed him a little bit at that point, and he said, that wasn't about Nazis, that was about BLM and Antifa, which is fucking nuts. And before I could really engage him further, he ran off, disappeared, never to be seen from again that day. But here's where it gets even weirder. At that White Lives Matter rally, the guy that stabbed Tom Bibian in 2016 was there, and I have footage of him admitting to stabbing Tom Bibian. And 3 other people, actually. He says, yeah, I stabbed 3 people in Anaheim. So this KKK guy never did any time for those stabbings.
And now he's converted the Gibeon guy to come hang out and be a White Lives Matter guy.
No, that didn't happen, but
Okay.
that would be kind of wild.
Yeah.
But my point was, and I had approached Tom Bibian for comment. I said, Tom, that guy at the White Lives Matter, and he was like, and he was basically, I don't even know what to say. He actually is like, I don't know what to think of it. So, I don't know that a lot of these guys are perfectly aware of these individuals in their midst, per se.
Yeah.
But it's kind of disturbing that is the story arc, right?
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Yes.
Anyway.
So why don't you tell people where they can follow you and where they can find that piece that you worked on with Walker also?
So Important Context is Walker back is opt-out news media.
Right.
I'm actually just on Blue Sky at this point. I just cannot deal with Twitter anymore. I can't. I've been off there for a while. So you all need to come to Blue Sky. I'm just saying. They don't have video capability yet, but they will soon.
But good to see your video
and then-
on YouTube at District 34.
Yeah, YouTube's done. Yeah.
And people in LA, if you see Tina at a protest, protect her.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not one of these like the left needs to get armed and learn jiu-jitsu kind of people, but protect Tina. Come on.
Yeah.
The media, especially, punch a guy if you
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah.
I'll punch
It's
someone in
been-
sack
it's
for you,
been
Tina.
crazy.
That's all I'm saying.
There you go.
You're
All
a
right.
treasure. We are very grateful. Thank you for coming on. You're amazing.
Yes, love you guys.
Love you. Talk
Likewise, Tina.
to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great work. Wow, it's a lot, and it is scary because you saw them just like with the bear mace and doing all this stuff. It's insane, actually, what she has dealt with. So, thank you to her. She's awesome.
She is a brave cat, and her work is appreciated. So,
I don't want to be rude, but I don't want to ban her from the studio, but I should kick her from the studio, right? That's what I'm doing. That's just like extra harassment. Yeah.
Wait.
Tina will be removed from the studio. I'm gonna kick her. I kicked her. Bye, Tina. Sorry.
Get out of here. You sided with Lila earlier. I'm sick of it.
Pat made a decision. It's out.
Final answer.
All right. Well, she's amazing. Cheers to her for doing really like incredible work and so brave. She has been threatened by so many different like Proud Boys, white supremacists, just like evil, ugly, violent people. So cheers, which reminds me, my drink
Absolutely.
is I need a refill. I'm gonna
Let's do it. Let's do a cheers, and that'll give us time to get the wheel up and
Okay.
move on to some other stuff.
Sounds good.
אנחנו נמצאים בראס אל-עין, זה כפר של קהילות רועים פלסטיניות.
הנוכחות שלנו כיהודים מפחית את הסיכוי שתהיה אלימות מהמתנחלים, וזאת המטרה המרכזית. אני סם, פעיל מלווה 5 שנים במקום בניו יורק.
אני גלי אנדין, מלווה כבר למעלה מ3 שנים.
בשתי דקות הבאות נראה יום התנדבות בבקעת הירדן. היום גיא יסיע אותנו לשטח.
בוקר טוב! לפעילות עצמה 2 פעילים ומעלה.
מתנדב חדש לא מגיע לבד.
עברנו את המחסום, זהו, אנחנו בפלסטין.
אנחנו נפגשים עם גלי, פעילה נוספת. איך היה הדרך?
בסדר.
נהיה עכשיו בשטח כ5 שעות עם העדר.
كم يوم تيجي هنا في الأسبوع؟
בנפשי בס של יום.
كويس.
בס راح تكون.
What just happened?
What was that?
I have no idea. StreamYard.
So that was supposed to be cheers to the.
That was cheers. It's Jews coming to protect Palestinians from being accosted, which is what you were saying we should do for Tina.
Right? We need more of that, obviously. Wow.
I don't know why that happened. I'm really sorry. That's we're
cheers
having,
to them.
Yeah.
Anyone protecting people that can't protect themselves or need some help. I mean,
yeah. And again, knowing that the violence is real on that other side. It
is real. I remember, I mean, Tina used to want to get me to go cover the white supremacists up like 45 minutes from me is like a whole city taken over by white supremacists. I'm like, Tina, like you can get away with some of that stuff as a woman and you still get punched. But me as a guy, especially when I'm fit, I'm like a target for knives.
Yeah.
Like there's a real threat to the work that she does. So
they're really, no, absolutely. And they know where she lives. Like they show up at her house. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. Okay. We're spinning.
Moving on to some lighter stuff.
A little lighter.
Cover.
Yeah. Then we're going to go right back to Israel. That's what we needed.
Wait a minute. Right. You broke your streak. Your first
I did.
Shot.
I can't believe it. I know.
Was not a shot.
Okay, wait. Let me spin again so we have something fun.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God. All right. I'm pouring a big one. I'm taking one of these.
You're back. Lila's back.
All right.
She was professional for 5 minutes with Tina on.
Yeah, baby.
No way. Come on. That's
easy.
All right.
Can't hide your true nature. Snake is a snake.
I poured another glass of wine at the same time I'm doing my double shot. There we go. That's what we needed. All right. Cheers. Timeline. Cleanse it up.
Plans. Let's do a 4th of July one.
It's embarrassing to celebrate the 4th of July now, isn't it? Kind of like what it makes me think of. So a couple of years ago, I went to my great aunt's 102nd birthday party at her retirement home. And I went up to her daughter and I was like, hey, 102 years, like, incredible milestone, like so nice to be a part of this celebration. And her daughter said, she's ready to go. And that's kind of how it feels to celebrate the 4th of July. We're done, right?
She's great. I couldn't see her name.
Oh, don't ask me that. I don't know.
Ashton,
somebody.
I don't know.
I could say we'll put it in the chat later, but I've never done that. Like not once.
I know. I forget. I should.
I'm so terrible.
We should do that
because somebody in the chat answers it. Like right. 90% of the time.
We rely on all of you guys. Yeah, you got a cradle, and I'm right there with everybody. We got a double going on here. We got Justin with the shots. We got Devin. Yeah. Oh, and Justin with the weed. All right, I love it. And did I already say that Macarius poured a double? Yeah. One of those weeks for sure.
Wait, so
yeah.
No, go ahead. Well, I was going to say that was a short one. I feel like we need some sage advice. So I was going to show the next timeline cleanse because we have multiple.
Okay, all right, let's do it. That gives me time to.
This guy's like he's like my the dude or whatever from that bowling movie.
From the
dude abides. This is like he's a real guy on Instagram who every video of his is like this. So
okay.
Hey, I'm just here to remind you, no one's keeping score, no one cares, and we all die in the end. Okay, just go and make yourself happy. Just don't hurt anybody else while you're making yourself happy. If you can make other people happy, that makes you even happier. So find ways to make other people happy if you're not happy, because being happy is a neat thing to do if you're making other people happy, because they're happy, and then you're happy that they're happy. And then you're even happier because you made them happy. Okay, let's think about that for a while and stuff. Okay, have a freaking awesome day. Okay, bye.
I just need more of that dude in my life.
Oh my God, the Big Lebowski, the Big
Lebowski.
My brain. Okay, just because it's Pat's favorite part of the show, please make sure to like and subscribe.
Push the button.
Smash that notification bell. Thank you. All right. We're moving on, right?
Yeah. What are we even talking about tonight?
We're going to Israel.
Oh, we haven't got well, we sort of just covered it.
I know. We did the protests and stuff. There's, not a lot to cover, except that, the genocide continues, slaughtering more doctors, 12 public resignees from the Biden administration just issued a joint statement about the catastrophic failure in Gaza, whether in civil service, foreign service, armed forces, or as political appointees. Each of us has sworn an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And as our nation celebrates its Independence Day, each of us are reminded that we resigned from government not to terminate that oath, but to continue to abide by it, not to end our commitment to service, but to extend it. I mean, like what you were saying about Trump, or if the violence had happened from Palestinians, like if anybody resigned, and there were resignations, when anyone resigned from Trump's administration, it was all anybody talked about. 12 people.
But I really think this is going to escalate quickly. Like a lot more people are going to be like, we got to get out of here. We have to unendorse this policy. And with Biden's, we're going to get into that, but Biden probably is off the ticket. So they're going to hang this on Biden.
Yeah.
But, you can't, they're not going to be able to hide from co-signing all this devastation on just your leader misinformed you, because the information has been out there forever. So people have to bail now. They have to get out. They have to step aside and say, I'm not part of this Nazi regime, which is kind of what Biden
I have to say, and we had an episode called Too Little Too Late, 2 months ago, because people knew on October 7th and started talking about it right away on October 8th. This is going to end up being a genocide. Like right away, the response is going to be disproportionate. Like they knew, they were warning about it, and it's just continued. So this is the next step, which is so revolting, is that in the House, they just passed a resolution that they will no longer, U.S. officials will no longer be allowed to cite death tolls that are given to them from Palestinian sources, which is the only source that exists on the ground to provide that data, to collect who the people are, to look at the registries. And we've used that, the US has used that for decades. And so when they were saying like the Hamas ministry reported death count to try to undermine it, that, you know, like all of these corporate journalists and outlets that used that framing, they helped pave the way for this next step, which is to say, we don't really know how many people died. We have no idea, because it was the Palestinians and they're all Hamas who told us that. And that was passed in our Congress.
It's just like COVID when they said, hey, hospitals don't have to report COVID anymore.
Yeah.
We're getting gaslit by our own press so hard that it's crazy. That's why Tina's work matters. That's why all this independent media matters. But the public isn't buying it. And I don't know how these people are going to live with themselves in 10 years when it's going to fall on the Democrats. I mean, honestly, both parties supported this policy, but we were in charge during all this genocide we're allowing to happen. It's the Democrats doing it. And that's going to be combined with everyone knowing that Biden had dementia for at least the last couple of years.
Yep. Yeah. So everybody, Blinken and all of the people, Zions, all these people who helped protect him and allow this to continue, have a genocide on their hands. And that, this, God, I was watching, I've been, kind of just relying almost entirely, on Al Jazeera recently. And I think we were talking about it last time, but I love that at the end of every segment that they do where they're covering anything in Gaza, they talk about how they've been banned from being there, but they're doing really such important work. And watching, all of the sanitation for sewage has been decimated by Israel. So there's just like streams of, water that contaminated that walk through. They're dysentery. They are starving to death. And then this, there has just been so many reports of brutal rape by the IDF. This was the latest one in 9/72 talking about, but then again, substantiated by CNN and the New York Times, even though often it's like a blurb on the 8th page of an enormous report about, the conflict. They will say one little segment about these rapes and deaths, but being raped by hot pokers until they die, some of them being raped by dogs. And I've started compiling, it's so gross, but like a folder of it, because it is shocking to me that the lie about rapes that started on October 7th before any evidence had been collected and has since been completely debunked. And again, we're not saying that nobody suffered a sexual assault or even a rape, who knows, but it was cast as systemic weapon of war by Hamas to use rape against Israelis. And there is just absolutely no proof, even according to Israeli police, according to the leaders of different kibbutz, the families of victims. There has been even the UN report, which so many nefarious actors like Sheryl Sandberg and Jake Tapper will bring up the UN report that corroborated it. We showed here, and it's been pointed out by so many different people, but she says we saw no photos. There was no photographic evidence. We even had somebody go on the dark web to see if they could find things that had sort of been, censored from existing. There is just Nothing. All of that footage has no proof of Hamas raping women. And yet on the other side, we have decades actually of proof of soldiers, IDF and Israeli soldiers raping Palestinians, and nobody's talking about it at all.
And obviously none of those lies work if we didn't have President Biden out in front of the public saying he watched videos of beheaded babies.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't. They don't exist. But he told the public that and never walked back from it. And the press ran with it. They were checked by other press. Their own press checked them.
Yeah.
And there are still people that go on TV regularly on shows like CNN and MSNBC and quote beheaded babies and rapings. And it goes just unchallenged.
And there's even video of Sheryl Sandberg talking to one of the women who's lied about all of these things. I can't remember her name right now. Or no, it was actually a man from Zaka. He shows her a picture that they don't show to the audience, but she looks at it and she's, oh my God. So either he showed her a lie of a picture, which is, they've been caught doing that before, right? Like they'll show something and it was actually an attack in Syria from 2 decades ago, like that.
Well, most of the time it's actually Israelis committing the crime on Palestinians. I mean, how many times has that happened?
Yeah. Like when, they're talking about the kids in cages at the border when Trump was president. And then a few liberals had to say, please take that down. That's actually the pictures you're showing of the kids in cages. That's from when Obama was president. Right. Yeah. All right. So there are a few IDF soldiers, 3, who are refusing to continue their service. So, these revelations are not only coming from independent journalists or from Palestinians, they are also coming from IDF soldiers. We can shoot whenever we want. Military targets is anybody we want to kill, families, and then we celebrate it as an achievement. And I think, not that this, again, should be our primary concern, but having your own people do this, knowing that they are behaving in this barbaric way, it's also self-destruction. They're destroying their own society. Pat, I feel like I've just been monopolizing the conversation.
No. I mean, you're Jewish and your perspective matters more on this to me in a lot of ways. No, I mean, like, honestly, like you're following it. I mean, I'm following it closely. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know you are.
I'm just going to interrupt when it makes sense.
Oh, okay.
If you're,
I'm going to rifle through the last couple things really quickly, because then we should we still want to get to a couple other things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the last couple things, and this, this again, even if you're only sort of like self involved or trying to protect yourself, Israel is bombing Lebanon right now. I think over 6,000 bombs have been lobbed by Israel into Lebanon. 1,258 have been lobbed back. But at this point, Israelis in the north have had to evacuate. And reported in the Jerusalem Post is Blinken saying Israel has effectively lost sovereignty in the north because of Hezbollah, which is, their Lebanon's military armed group. Yeah, military.
It's like
group.
Hamas almost. I mean, honestly, it's like.
Yeah.
But the difference is, Hezbollah has free access to borders. They can get weapons from everywhere. Like, imagine if the Palestinians had free access to weapons, and Hezbollah has the capability. They released the drone footage of them targeting military encampments and special, places in Israel that they if they can get that drone there, they can get some damaging weapons there. And it's ultimately, if the U.S. gets pulled in because we're going to back Israel against Hezbollah, we can't win that. But we're likely to get pulled into it because our government is run by weapons manufacturers.
Yeah, 100%. But I actually think it's really fascinating to see that the IDF has had almost no success with Hamas at all. And as you said, like, this is not Hezbollah. They don't have the kind of weaponry that Hezbollah has. They have, fairly basic weapons in comparison to Israel, which gets its weapons from the US, right? And they are not winning. I mean, yes, they are slaughtering tens of thousands of people and destroying buildings and life, but they're not actually beating Hamas, which has to be a bit of a wake-up call. I mean, I think that is shaking a lot of Israelis to the core. They're actually not
right. They can kill all the Palestinians ultimately if the US and the world lets them. But you can't defeat Hezbollah. You're not going to ever defeat Hezbollah
or
from
Hamas.
Israel.
Yeah.
Or Hamas.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can devastate. You can't inflict the kind of pain you've inflicted on Hamas on Hezbollah.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And
now
U.S.
they're
has
looking towards, yeah.
I mean, well, what are we doing? What is the end game for the U.S.? Making ourselves a pariah state like Israel's about to be?
Yeah. Yes. Which I think we've probably been for quite a while. This is an op-ed in Haaretz. To survive, Israel must strike Iran now. Benny Morris. I mean, like, when is this going to end? Who is going to end this? And meanwhile, the settlements continue being built, and the way the media frames it, they say, what to know about Israel's plan to legalize 5 West Bank settlements? Well, they're not allowed to legalize it. It's illegal. You're not allowed to steal the land of other people. But when you have the New York Times framing it in such a sort of soft, toothless way, it feels like, these are people's lives, their homes.
Yeah.
Like
The lawyers are going to fight it out, and Israel's going to make it work.
All right. What do you think? Moving on. Are you ready for a wheel?
I think so. We've
right.
had enough Israel.
We did
today,
it. All right. I know.
Please don't stop protesting and all that stuff, obviously.
100%.
Spin the wheel so I can drink my whisky.
Oh, look at that. Do we have another timeline plan?
We must, right?
Yeah, we have this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey.
Tough break, Billy boy, but there's a new way to make laws these days. Alex the name, and you better not have scratched the limo, pal. See, it works like this nowadays. Bunch of corporations get together and get tax write-offs for bankrolling a charity called the American Legislative Exchange Council. Sounds pretty official, huh? Then they schmooze and booze a whole lot of politicians from states all over the country at posh hotels. Corporate bucks also buy scholarships for politicians, if you're a scholar of drinking scotch, smoking cigars, and playing golf at a resort. So now there's suddenly one big happy family, the corporations, the lobbyists, the politicians. They all get together far away from your citizens and voters, and the unelected lobbyists secretly vote with the politicians, as equals, of course, on the things the corporations want to do. Like, get clean air and water rules, raise your credit card rates as high as they want, crush them Democratic unions, make it easier to get away with shooting people, and privatize schools, prisons, bail, immigration, and what have you. Hell, they privatized their own mothers. So once the politicians have been wined and dined, a little campaign contribution here, a good time there, the politicians, legislators, head back to their capitals or Congress and fast-track as many of these bills as they can. And here I am, a model ALEC bill, soon to be law. It's a hell of a lot easier and more fun than how you used to do it with all those regular old citizens and meddling media watching your every move. Face it, you're washed up. Corporations have made government of the people obsolete, Bill. It's a thing of the past. What do you have to say for yourself, you old dreamer? Please, help! I gotta stand my ground on you right here. Put you out of your misery.
Well, I can't say that actually cheered me up, but that's a good update parody. But it is just like wildly depressing, right?
Yes, it is.
Um,
But we've got 2024 to talk about, which that
is that where we are? We're going. Yeah, we're doing that before we do
Right?
COVID, right?
is COVID even on there?
I
COVID didn't even make the list.
I added it a little bit.
What happened?
All right, let's. Good. We're like spiked. We're like, this is actually a spike right now. All right.
Yeah, let's cover. Well, okay, let's just rifle through it. COVID's bad. Watch out.
COVID's bad.
Watch out.
Forecast.
Cases are up.
The summer. Yeah. The summer.
Both parties suck.
That's actually a great graphic because it shows over the same amount of time, they both, I mean, Biden was actually worse than Trump over the same amount of time. And then Biden's gone on to kill, 400, 500,000 more. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Keep going.
Disability. This
40%.
is the real where the fuck around and find out is starting to happen. We cannot have millions of people disabled in this country.
That's why we got
how
AI.
do you fund it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the race. The robot, it's a race with the robots and AI, and just let the disabled fall along the wayside, as Blinken said, or not Blinken, who said that? Fauci.
Along the way, he and Walensky. Some people will fall by the wayside.
Yeah. New York ending sick leave. COVID people.
Yep. COVID cases have increased 5-fold since April in New York. So guess how and again, like, okay, so you don't care about COVID, you have a heart attack. What's going to happen? Because right now you've got the longest wait since the beginning of COVID for an ambulance. Yeah. All right. Well, and then they're still just going to talk about those 6 months back in 2020 have really taken that learning loss toll. They're not going to talk about the damage to your brain function of getting repeatedly infected, letting this just spread wild. But
yeah, 6 months of not being able to have your kid in school somehow did more damage to society than actual dying of COVID. The parents killed all the you got.
People
what was
have been
it?
Orphaned. Yeah, like 10 million kids have been orphaned.
I was going to say 4, but 10 million. Was it 10
worldwide.
million?
I mean, worldwide. Yes, 10 million. Sorry. Yeah.
Orphaned. I mean, do you think being in school longer and spreading COVID faster and harder would have been better for these kids who would have lost? We'd have double that number of people that died and that lost their parents. And if they'd been in school and you'd had double the amount of kids that lost their parents, that would have been better than this mysterious, untraceable. You can't track the data on any of this stuff about learning loss. It doesn't add up.
And also, a lot of the people who are talking about when you delve into this article are in kindergarten and first grade. Like they were 1 or 2 at the beginning of COVID. So to pin it on something where they wouldn't have been in school anyway. I mean, it all crumbles, but this is the New York Times doing their best,
Yeah, they're still gaslighting us.
Their best capitalism cover.
Like the only chance we have of getting real news on COVID to hit the mainstream media is a Trump presidency, honestly, which is so fucking sad.
It is sad, but I think you're right. Like when you truly think about harm reduction, as despicable as he is, at least people were calling out his atrocities. I don't know.
All right. Be safe out there.
Yeah.
Watch out. Mask up. There's a spike happening everywhere. Okay. The Bay Area specifically, but I'm tuned into that because I'm in California, but the wastewaters are at the highest levels ever.
Yeah. All right. Where are we moving on? What are we what are we doing?
Spin the wheel.
We're doing that again. All right, here we go. Spinning the wheel. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Do we have another puppet?
Oh, we have another puppet.
Oh, okay, good. Excellent. Here we go. Do I remove this one though? Is that it?
Yeah, that's a wrap.
I love those puppets. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the electoral projection right now.
Well, you know, I mean,
From
it's
it's from Open Labs polling, but yeah.
It's 50-50 according to the press, even though Biden is losing all the swing states.
Every swing state he is losing, and the like generic Dems underneath them are all up in those same states. So like it is truly a Biden phenomenon, even though I can't stand any of those senators underneath there.
Well, obviously we're going to talk about them pulling Biden. Excuse me. Burpee beer. But I really think Biden's going to be pulled. But I watched the video. It was too long to put on. It was too slow. It was like 7 minutes or something.
Right.
With this Democratic donor, big, heavy donor, saying that all the money is going away from Biden because they all feel lied to by the Democratic Party that he's sane enough to run the ship.
Wow.
And they're putting all their money into down ballot candidates. Like if you support a Democratic Party, those people that really are not bribing, maybe,
right.
But if you're a good minded Democrat supporter, your money is not going to Biden anymore. It's going to down ballot candidates. And it might be the first time in history you're going to see down ballot candidates do okay and the president lose. Like he's supposed to lift them up.
And that was the thing. Remember, that was like one of the many attacks against Bernie was, oh, he's going to hurt down ballot candidates. It's just amazing to see. It's why it's never worth engaging with these bad faith actors online or anywhere. You know, they'll say, well, Bernie can't beat Trump. Biden has a better chance, which was a lie in every single matchup that was shown. Yeah. But now those same people, and I mean, this is just hilarious to me. If it also didn't make me like so angry, but wait, where is the, this is like, so this is the reaction. So we see this person who, by the way, like anybody who has eyes and ears has known that he has dementia since 2019, at least. So like, I don't know why the shock and surprise and can't believe it. Like what? But this was, I have to put on my glasses, but we just kind of put together a whole bunch of them. So this was after the latest Supreme Court decisions. There was the Chevron doctrine, which basically takes away capabilities from government agencies to regulate water, air.
It's a deregulation wet dream. Everything deregulation now goes to state level.
Right. So there was that. There was the allowing. No. Was it allowing? Now I can't remember. Was it allowing or prohibiting the White House to interfere with social media and kind of determine what social media gets to do?
Oh, I don't know.
I know. I can't remember.
I didn't follow that one, so I don't know.
I know.
I mean, obviously, the biggest revelation from SCOTUS was the other ruling that the president has absolute immunity from any official acts as president, which is very vague. It's not as bad as it was carved out to be initially, because you can still differentiate personal versus but it's a legal mess that everything that ever happened is going to come into question from a president. It's too much of there are too many hoops to jump through to ever prosecute a president, basically,
which we've never done before. We've done
just like with Chevron. Right. Yes, you can still regulate these groups, but now the hoops are like times 10.
Right.
And that's the whole point of all of it.
The Chevron one is more upsetting to me, actually, because the truth is, apart from Trump misusing donations to try to talk about an affair he had, no president has ever been prosecuted for far worse crimes, right? Like George W. Bush steals an election, starts a war on a lie, starts these black site torture camps. And part of the reason what Obama ran on was holding him accountable, and then instead said we have to move forward and started bombing 5 more countries. So like we've never held any president accountable for anything. But also right now, I mean, this is what's so amazing. And like liberals are so in such a cult. Here's Biden saying, I dissent and I will still stand by everything that presidents do. Right.
Thank you.
You dementia-addled racist.
Thank you for all power, but tradition dictates I don't use any power whatsoever.
Nothing. But you should be worried that Trump's going to beat me in 6 months, and he'll take
the
that
guy
power.
that's going to beat me because they changed all the laws to favor him. He's going to use those bad powers, so vote for me. But I won't use any power whatsoever to do anything I ever said I would do. But I'll somehow magically make abortion legal across the land.
But not,
I don't know how.
Not by issuing some kind of decree or like withholding state funding from like none of that. Just, I mean, that should tell people like, I don't know how to break through. Oh, God darn it. Pat,
did you freeze?
I really did. For God's sake.
All right. No worries. No worries. I got this. We'll see you in a minute.
You handle it.
We will listen to let's listen to Chris Hedges.
All right.
Wise man.
How will the conflict in Gaza read in history books 50 years from now? Well, we'll all be indignant and wring our hands and say never again, and it won't mean anything because we always stand up for moral causes after those causes are over. But to stand up for a moral issue in the moment is costly. And of course, people will bathe themselves with the moralists of the past, but then very rarely replicate that courage in the present. So once it's over, I mean, look, we've got a postage stamp with Malcolm X's face on it. I mean, the state was complicit in the assassination of Malcolm X, clearly. But that's because the liberal class is morally bankrupt, and the liberal class is used to go after dissidents, critics. When I opposed the Iraq War, who were those who sought to discredit me? They were liberals. And Chomsky writes quite presciently about this. He said that they set those moral lines. When you actually begin to critique the system itself, then they must destroy you, because what you're doing is challenging their own position as the moral center of society.
He's great. I'm back. Hi. Justin, thank you so much. Beer and Wine Fund. You know we need it. Thank you. That's really sweet of you. Thank you.
That's 2 of these delicious blind pig beers.
Right? Okay. Sure. We got more to talk about on this wonderful. So at first, they came back and said he's still in. Biden hasn't blinked. That was the New York Times. Staring contest with Democratic voters. Joe Biden hasn't blinked. It's a cliche of political strategy that smart campaigns meet voters where they are. Imagine saying that's a cliche and not democracy. Like, what the fuck? But okay.
I just want to remind people, I mean, we're not covering we covered the debate Sunday, but after the debate, in case you haven't followed in this stuff, you probably have because you're on Twitter and whatever. The mainstream media shredded Biden. The whole story was this guy's in deep shit. He's going to be out, and he's going to be out. Yeah. But they're trying this pivot now to save him. Like, it's an effort that's flailing hard.
Right. It's also, there's also so many different machinations at play, right? So there was this leak that Gretchen Whitmer, it was leaked, said on a phone call, Michigan is lost. It's over. And this was, I know this was written on the first, but in the wake of the debate was no longer winnable. But then, because all of these Democrats who are sort of being talked about as possible replacements were also already thinking about 2028. So then they have to kind of like navigate very carefully, and there's a lot of backstabbing going on, right? So like,
it's all about your own political career. I mean, there's no one that's a governor that's not a piece of shit. I'm sorry. Like, by the time you move up within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in politics, period, you're pretty much a trashy person who's self-interested, narcissist, whatever. But so they're weighing the long-term career options but But the tipping point is here. Like it's better for your career to not go down with Palestine. I mean, in the Israeli war, so some people are starting to realize that,
right?
But they're hanging on to the Democratic Party. But where's their future? I mean, you can't look. Biden had all these people. Like I don't even know the outcome today. But today he had a meeting with all the governors and a lot of people high up in the Democratic Party to try to convince them he's sane.
Yeah.
So if that went badly, like he's really going to be out. But regardless of that, all these actors like Newsom and whatever, they're coming out supporting him because like you're going to support him if you're the next guy in line and he's out even.
Right.
Like it's the thing you have to do sort of if you want the job.
Yeah. Yeah. So nobody's an honest actor in all of it. And even, I have to say, like, there was something today, James Zogby was on Democracy Now! Talking about, I think possibly that call, but he's pushing for an early convention where all the different people whose names are being floated. And by the way, like they all lose against Trump in a general election right now. And obviously there are a million reasons that could be happening, but like no one's super strong. When they talk about like a new voice, none of them's a new voice. They're just all younger versions of Biden, but like there's no younger left person, right?
No, the whole list of people they're floating, the Hill put an article out with the top 7 people or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone was centrist or right.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if it's this one. I can't remember because everything's so small. No, that's not. That's his strategy. Sorry, I don't remember where it is. But they all lose against him. It's Whitmer, it's Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Newsom,
but
Josh Shapiro. Andy Beshear is the only person. He's a Democratic governor of red Kentucky that people talk about as possibly being a little more progressive. But
but he won. It's got Joe Manchin written all over it in the long term. I'm sorry, it does. Like,
I mean,
spinning him as the guy in the public that won in a red state.
Yeah, I know it's really depressing. But so they're talking about doing this. So there are 2 different ways. There's either doing like the early nomination, where the DNC just nominates Biden and it's like, that's it, we're done. And then no matter what, then they can be like, well, he's going to step back and then it will be Kamala and it's fine. We're just going to she can take all the money that he's already raised as a ticket. And I don't even know what all the federal, election laws for finances are for that. But then what Zogby was saying was get all of these people. But again, it's still only the people who have already been coordinated, these awful governors, as you said, right? Like get them and have them make their pitch to just the groups of insiders who are already like it is full on the backroom cigar deal that they'll just decide who the nominee is.
And there's a lot of spin out there. I don't know. I haven't unpacked it all yet, but I mean, apparently there are like 3 states where they bypass the Democratic convention rules or something to get Biden on the ballot.
Right.
And because of that, if Biden isn't the nominee, you're relying on Republican secretaries of states or whatever to allow the other person on the ballot, which under the law would be a clear, like under the under our law, it's pretty clear. The
Like
court
each state
always
has their
favors.
own, yeah.
Yeah, but the court also always has favored, regardless of the party screwing up, they favor the voter's intent and what's best for the voter. Like, I mean, Bush stuff aside.
Yeah.
So the law would be clear, but we're in a position where the Supreme Court just overruled decades of precedents. And it's so clear they're not looking at the legal precedents and what matters.
Right.
So that in that case, the Supreme Court could uphold these 3 states not allowing Biden on the ballot, which is already, I mean, Biden's replacement on the ballot. So anyway, but I don't know if any of that's even true yet. I mean, I need to unpack some of that.
No, I mean, there's just, they should have had a
the idea,
primary.
yeah, of course. And that's,
there's no buy-in from the public for Joe Biden. He does.
There is
nobody wants
75% CNN's own poll, not some random bullshit poll. CNN, which is pro-Democrat, 75% of Democratic voters want another candidate.
Yep.
And none of this is going to change by the election. So you could look at all the polls and say, look, these other people don't have any chance. They're already losing to Trump too, but they can change the narrative. They can get out in front of the public. They can do something, but there's nothing. Biden can't suddenly say none of this happened. I'm saying,
I recovered from my dementia. No, it's over.
You can't spin your way out of it. And Palestine's going to get worse by the election time. Everything's going to get worse. COVID, you name it. It's all going to be worse. None of this is going to be better. So if you really cared about like saving democracy, stopping fascism, winning, which is the whole thing we get here every day and all the emails from Democrats, you would make the swap, which I still think they're going to do. But the idea that they're trying to save him so hard really speaks to how much they don't really give a shit about stopping fascism and saving democracy.
Oh my God. The idea they ran him in the first place shows that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's funny though. So a couple of things, you have that podcasters, like the self-indulgent or self-important podcaster email that went out by the Biden people after the Pod Save Boys. We covered this on Sunday, but after the Pod Save Boys said like, that was quite a showing of the debate. He's got to drop out. It's horrible. The second part of it talked about bedwetters. The bedwetting brigade is calling for Joe Biden to drop out. That's the best way for Donald Trump to win.
Yeah.
Which was also Hillary's tactic, right?
You bunch of pussies. You're not going to back our guy. You like,
really?
You're hearing that from
them?
Official Democratic email for asking for money is, bedwetter, you bedwetters.
8 years saying that Trump is worse than Hitler, that he is Putin's puppet, that he was not really elected, that he's a traitor, that he's going to make himself a dictator on day one. Like it's going to be a bloodbath. Like they take his different things that he said and make them the worst possible thing. And then they've gotten Democrats, normally Democrats, so scared about a Trump presidency that when those same Democrats are like, hey, I don't think we can win with it. They're like, you're bedwetter. Stop being such a baby. Like you're making your people like freak out about this person. And instead of running on any positive affirmative agenda, doing anything to stop, where's Democrats Project 2025? Nothing.
I think Biden is out because in a lot of ways, self-preservation drives people in politics, right? Ultimately.
Right.
And they can put Palestine on him. I mean, they can say he misled us.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just sort of chewing through it now, but like they can put this on Biden at the end of the day and change policies and say, I don't want to go down with the Nazi Germany people.
They'll distance themselves from it. I mean, I will say, as meek as it was, there were leaks early on that Kamala was not on board with the policy. I mean, she's second in command, whatever. She should be more forceful. She should, like, if she actually cared, she would have gone a different route. But she's been kind of sowing those seeds, or her staff has, from a while ago.
I mean, as far as 2024 goes, like, I really don't think it. I mean, people think you can't pass Kamala, but you can find a way. Like, hey, your only future in this is you're our Secretary of State. You're go for it or not. But like you have to step aside, because if they run Kamala, they lose by $1 billion. Which I get it. They don't care about that on some level.
Here's an idea. I don't know if you saw this floating, and this was actually maybe the most depressing thing. Before I get frozen out again, we just want to thank Justin. Thank you, Bedwetters, the new pony wanners. Exactly. Cheers. And thank you so much. That is incredibly generous and kind. Whoops, what I just messed up, and I wanted Pat. I messed up. Okay. This was floated yesterday from Ellie Mistal. A Harris-Sanders ticket reconstitutes the Obama coalition. Just saying. I'm going to go finish my. Then look at this. More people.
Obama coalition?
Yeah. I mean,
that's so
like,
painful.
These like it's fakakta. This was this is a Sunrise Movement guy. And here's another one. Harris-Sanders, the Unity ticket. And that depressed me, honestly. more than anything. It was like on like 8 different levels. That's depressing. Like, what does that mean anymore? Like, it meant something to me actually still in 2020. It really did. I'd hope there were millions of people behind Sanders and the platform, but they shut the platform down. They've completely silenced him. We don't talk about living wage or Green New Deal or Medicare for nothing. So what would it like? What would it mean? Like
In all honesty, if you put Sanders at the top of the ticket, I'm going to vote for that.
Right.
But if you put him, just because he would have the power and could break, and who knows? Who fucking knows? Right. I don't have faith in him at all. We saw as chair of the health committee, he didn't do shit on COVID, which I mean, whatever. Aside from that, if you put him as VP, he's going to be as feckless as he was in his new gain powers.
Yeah.
And other places. So
serving
a Bernie VP is useless as fuck to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Now, if you're asking me, this is the candidate for the Democrats, do you want Bernie as a VP or not? Sure. It's better to have him as VP. But a Harris Sanders ticket, it might win, but I don't want it. I don't want it. She's going to go cover up COVID. She's going to be as useless as Biden on every issue. Yeah. Sanders is going to be just as silent on every fucking issue.
Because he's got to support her. Trump is going to, or the next fascist in 2020. I mean, I know it. All right.
It's depressing. You're right. That just, I didn't even know you had those slides. I didn't know that was a thing because I didn't do enough prep today.
No, it's okay. We've been like tag teaming today. Yeah.
I do not want, I would be so low. Like seeing Bernie second to Kamala, the dumbest, fakest, least informed person on the planet on any issue whose lives she's affecting.
Her dumb and fake. Just we got to show a couple of her appearances really fast because it's already 7. We've kind of covered all the stuff. I'm massively depressed. We need something funny. Which of the Kamala ones should we show?
Oh, let's show her real one and then we'll show the parody.
Okay. I think that's wait, is the real one from the Comedy Central? Okay, so I wish we could share it because instead of just do this, because we should I don't want them to stop us midstream.
Oh, the TV appearance one? You think they're going to stop us?
Well, it's Comedy Central.
God damn it. Comedy Central, you said. All right, no, let's skip it. Who cares? Because
everybody
it's just Kamala
knows how bad she is.
Kissing ass and lying and whatever. So let's just go right to her
trying to talk in her sort of way where she tries to be like a person of the common people. So here's a parody.
This is the real Kamala, actually.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
Oh, Deb. I'm Kamala. Okay. Happy 50th birthday to hip hop. When people think of me, okay, they think hip hop. I grew up in Oakland. I'm wearing this shirt. I scream hip hop. Hip hop! So yeah, I'm into hip hop. I want to give it up, okay, to all the greats. So Missy, TLC, ODB, DMX, okay, ABC, and LGBT, okay, Q, Lil Nas X. Giving it up. We here at the residence. It's lit. That's a word I have said before. A wise, okay, man once said, to the window, to the wall, okay, to the sweat, drop down my balls.
Window.
Skeet, skeet, motherfucker. Skeet, skeet. Goddamn. Those words are poetry. Okay? I mean, it rhymes. So technically, that's poems. Happy birthday, hip hop. Kamala out. Hey.
I do love that our video is wrapped in her cackle.
I mean, I just cannot imagine Sanders having to spend time with her doing any sort of rallies or
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, not to Fauci it up because Fauci's a piece of shit, but it was like Fauci with Trump trying to pretend like the bleach thing didn't happen. That would be Bernie Yeah, you got to vote for Dems, and what she said. You know.
She's really progressive. She's the most progressive president of my lifetime.
My dear friend, Kamala. I've gotten to know her, and she's my dear friend.
All right. Listen, this is what we started to show when I got frozen was the crazy, like unhinged, vote blue no matter who anger, both on like mostly because of the Supreme Court decision of absolute immunity, while again not holding the most powerful person in the world accountable for. You now have this broad power, do all the things you know that 70% of your base and like 60% of the whole country wants. They don't yell at him, they yell at all of us, and Jill Stein and Ralph Nader, and like, you know, it's just know they're out there. Don't waste time with these they're time vampires, these people online.
And not that, you know, I'm not realistic about a third party winning, but you know, anything could happen. Like we're in a place where the Democratic Party has turned against Joe Biden. So Marianne Williamson is back in the race.
Jill Stein, Cornel West.
Jill Stein is my personal pick. I'll be voting for her and for Greens. They just got approved for national matching funds,
which is amazing. But even now they did like they gave him another thing where it's like, but now you can't like fundraise until the end of July or something. I don't know.
The laws are,
but yes,
the election laws are written by the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and they exclude everybody else, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is there are 5 people that can technically win the presidency now via ballot access, including Jill Stein. She has enough ballot access to win now, and she will get more. So anything could happen, but at least don't give your vote to this guy who we all know is not mentally there, whose policies are not there for the public, who's ignoring COVID, has killed millions and will continue. We need to get some coverage of COVID, and I don't want a Trump presidency, but you know, we will get some realism on COVID with Trump as president.
I mean, yeah. And how about the environment? Like, you know, they keep saying this thing, and sorry, I know we're done, but like that, you know, he passed the biggest climate legislation of anybody. It was $500 billion. It started as a $16 trillion Green New Deal with Sanders, to which Joe Manchin said, nope, 4 trillion. To which Biden said, I'll see it too. And then got pushed down.
He undercut Joe Manchin.
I mean, so like, yeah.
And Adria, I just want to say, I love Joe Kushner and SCP too. Kudos. I mean, vote for them.
Yeah.
I support them entirely. But I don't want to be I'm not a Jill Stein fanatic. I love her. I think she's great. But vote for who moves the needle for you. Especially when they're not going to win. But if Jill has a chance of winning, I would be in your DMs like, please vote Jill. So
yeah, and whatever happens, we cannot reward Biden, who knows that 70% of his party didn't want him, is against the genocide. If you vote for him no matter what, then I mean, sorry, I'm never going to shame somebody but like that teaches all the wrong lessons. That just teaches all the wrong lessons. Like, are we a democracy on any level? But I do think it's why it's really important not to just not vote, because if you don't vote, then they're like, well, we're never going to get you anyway, right? If you are a voter, go vote for somebody else.
Yeah, your vote will at least be registered as a protest. It'll hurt his numbers. People will see publicly you didn't vote for him, which is more important than staying home, because if you stay home, you just get lumped into the category of like,
oh, it's just a non-voter
that just for whatever lazy reason didn't get out there and vote, don't care about democracy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay. We're done, right? Over 2 hours. I think we're so, you know, thrilled and grateful that you all hung out with us as long as you did. Thank you. Thank you to Tina Desiree-Berg, the notorious TDB, for coming on our show. Love her. And
Tina is a good peeps. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we're going out on our one good thing, and we're seeing everybody on Sunday. And hey, don't forget, it's July 4th. Celebrate
July 4th tomorrow. Be safe.
Be an American, because at
Lay
least
off the
I
fireworks
know
so
I'm
that
free.
Yeah, let the puppets, Jesus, let the puppets sleep. Lay off the fireworks, folks. And we're going out on protest. There are lots of local protests you can join on the 4th. I just caught a few graphics for a few, but please find a local one if you can, and show your hatred of the Palestinian-Israel war.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Keep punching up, everybody. Thank you.
Palestine will never die.